Christine O'Brien.
Jess, is there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, there are some changes to the agenda since it was posted. The items are at the top. So I swapped some things around, due to the fact that our planning board chair has now become a select board member. So we have to do some board business before we do the public hearing. So, the additions are, the board to address Drew Carter's resignation letter. Board to appoint an alternate to fill in the empty member seat. And then election of officers. Also, I wanted to add, that case P 2406 for a conceptual consultation, has been withdrawn.
You
And
said 2406?
2406, correct. And then under other business, 3, I'd like to add C, and that would be, committee assignments for CIP and Zach and stuff.
So, case P 2325, that was withdrawn.
That was withdrawn as well.
Okay,
Yep. So you're only hearing just the one case tonight.
okay. So back up to the top, it says, the board addressed Drew Carter's resignation letter. Then it says, board to appoint alternate to fill in empty nest until, now I'm not filling that in until we elect a new chairman.
So we're gonna do that tonight.
Right, so we,
So you're gonna fill the empty member seat before you guys do election of officers.
okay,
So you're gonna appoint, the board's going to appoint one of your current alternates that you feel is, appropriate to fill in the seat that is now empty.
Drew's seat,
Yes.
that's me. I'm
No,
vice,
no, it's a. We have 6 members at the moment. We need a 7th member.
Right, you're just filling in,
Full-time
so,
board.
yeah, so Drew's seat as a planning board member is now empty. Right?
I see.
You know,
You're not talking
yeah.
about just as a member, not as a
Right.
chair. Okay.
Yeah, not just, specifically chair. I'm just saying like, there's now an open seat on the planning board, which needs to be filled by an alternate. And our alternates are Tom Hoops, Christine O'Brien, and Mark Manning, but we'll get to that when we get there.
Okay, all right. I
Okay,
understand that now.
Great.
At least.
We need a motion to accept the new agenda.
I make a
So-
motion, we accept the new agenda.
yes, thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so. Drew. So Drew Carter, he sent me his resignation letter this morning. He wanted to, thank you for his support, during his time as, planning board member. That's pretty much it. Just to have that on the record. Yeah. Yep. So now you can move forward with appointing an alternate.
Okay. And how are we doing that? Were we doing a rotation? Putting numbers in?
So you could put it, someone could put out a motion, I motion to have whoever,
It's a permanent until the next election.
correct, until next March. Yeah,
Oh, I
Not a
see.
temporary 1 week thing, 1 month thing. So you're appointing someone.
Oh, I see, right.
yep.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Mark Meany.
I'll second it.
I'll third it.
Any further discussion? For nominations?
Are all the alternates interested in the full-time slot?
Nope.
No,
No.
no, not yet, right? Okay,
All in favor of Mark Manning for the empty spot?
Aye.
Aye. No nays?
okay.
I can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you.
Gonna make a suggestion on the elections. that we kept Drew on for 3 years simply because he was such a fantastic organizer. But we had a policy for many years to have rotating chairman. And the vice chair would step up to the chair and then you'd appoint 2 new people, so. I would suggest that that's a good way to go back, and that would mean that Roger would move up. And I would like to nominate Bill O'Neill as vice chair. And I don't know who's interested in the treasurer. You're
Well,
secretary.
the only thing is we actually did it backwards. I was the chairman and then I moved to vice chair. And I was
Right.
gonna nominate Bill for chairman.
All right, that's fine. It's called teamwork.
What have you guys want?
Okay, so
No.
no one seconded your motion, Tom?
Well,
I withdraw it.
You're gonna withdraw? Okay,
So I'll second Rogers.
okay.
and that's good for 1 year?
The election, yes, the officer seats are just, yeah, that's every year.
Okay.
Okay, any further discussion on Bill becoming chairman? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Congratulations.
And vice chair is who? I'm sorry,
What's that?
vice chair? Did you
Well,
do vice
we're
chair yet?
Electing officers now, is that what?
Yes.
Hmm.
So
Well,
you
the
just,
other thing too is by electing somebody as an officer, you force them to learn more.
Well, I nominate Roger
I'll second.
Sample.
okay, so did you vote on nominating Bill as chair?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
Okay, so we're squared away with that. I'm sorry. I have a lot on the brain. Okay, and vice chair?
I nominate Roger
Okay,
Sample.
okay. You voted on it?
Anybody second it?
I did.
Nick did.
Oh, Nick did?
Any further discussion? Nominations? All in favor of Roger as vice chair?
Aye.
Okay, now you need to do clerk.
Don't nominate me.
Doug, would you be interested in learning?
No, I think I'll pass for right now. Thank
All
you.
right.
How about Nick?
No, I'm gonna pass on that.
I'm gonna nominate Tom Davini.
I'll second that. You can decline it if you want.
I'm not, because we're running out of people.
He says he's not running out of people.
The idea is simply that you're the organizer of the secretary. When somebody else's signature is not available, you are.
Okay,
Mhm.
you can do that.
Okay, any further,
It doesn't happen that too many times that the chair and vice chair are missing.
got a nomination and a second, any further discussion? I hear no further discussion. All in favor of Tom Davini as clerk?
Aye.
Aye. Who made the motion for that?
What's that?
Oh, Roger did.
Okay, is there other, that's it, right?
Congratulations.
That is it. Okay, so now you have a full board, so you don't need to appoint alternates.
Okay.
So now it's between you and Bill as to whether who wants to continue chairing the meeting? Do you want our brand new fresh chair
Well, we could
to
just,
chair the meeting or?
He started out, Roger started out, we might
Yeah.
just.
I didn't assign that to anybody. I left it over here. Here you go, Bill. Welcome aboard.
Oh, okay.
All right,
pick it up.
you all set?
Awesome.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, so. So we'll go through, case P 23-25. It was the applicant withdrew the request on 3/12/2024. Then, that goes to, so the next, item on the agenda is case P 24-05. And that is the, solar farm. And that was continued from.
big ones, you can invite them up to the table. So, Mr. Chair, at the last meeting, you guys deemed the application complete.
Okay, we did.
And then you had asked them to come back with some amendments to the plan and updated decommissioning plan.
Did,
And a
did
few
we
other
ask for an
items.
updated permit too? In the right name? Because the last two names the permit was in was our
They-
business?
Yeah, they did update. They did update all the documents that I can see.
Okay. Little switches, are you, oh, they're on?
We are, yes.
Yep.
I'm Chris Neto with Nobis Group.
I'm Will Waterstrat with Correlate.
So since the last meeting, we have received comments from the town engineer. We've also received comments from alteration of terrain, which we're working on addressing those final comments to get an AOT permit. The town engineer's permits were pretty minor, easy to incorporate into the plans. We updated the decommissioning plan, submitted that to the board as well as an operations and maintenance plan for the solar array that you should have. And we updated the plans for the comments, so so we're here tonight to answer any additional questions the board has. And hopefully ask for a conditional use, or I'm sorry, a conditional approval pending our AOT permit, DOT permit, and getting the final plans pulled together. Or any comments that are outstanding, or any additional comments that you have tonight.
Mr. Chair, I did have a question, if you don't mind. So just to clarify, on the plan, the applicant is listed as Caspian Alton Solar, but the application is Correlate.
Yeah, so just.
It,
yeah,
I know they're
we can absolutely change that.
connected, but
Yeah, so Caspian is wholly owned by Correlate. They're a wholly owned LLC. As with, you know, a lot of developers, when you have an individual project, you register a separate LLC for that. And that's what was done here. So,
yep, okay. That's fine.
We could change it to Caspian if you'd like, or it could stick with Correlate as they are the owner of Caspian.
That would be fine, as long as it's on record.
Yep.
You know, that, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Yeah, as long as they're both, they both be on.
Yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
okay.
Mr. Chair, may I speak? Sure. I haven't seen anything from Mr. Hussey's trust. I know when I set up the trust on my property, and it was being passed on, or even before it was passed on, I had to put in there whether it was whether a commercial business was allowed on it, or any other type of business or anything at all. Do we know if his trusts allow commercial businesses?
That I have no idea. You guys have never asked that of any other applicant.
Well, I just been reading over this, and when I saw revocable trust, I was like, ooh. I know on my trust, I had to set it up on whether it could or couldn't have a commercial or anything done to it where it was in a revocable trust. So I was just curious if there's any way you could get us some copies of that.
Absolutely. We could ask that of Mr.
Mr. Hussey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's, I think he's down south right now on his, soon to come back, but we can certainly reach out to him and get that
Yeah.
info.
I think just for your safe.
Sure,
Your
yeah,
sake
absolutely.
also.
Yep.
You know, you'd hate to start investing all kinds of money and find out that
Right.
can't allow commercial on it. Thank you.
Chair, I have a question as well. So the decommissioning plan, I've seen that, it was a good step, thank you. But I did have a question about your operation and maintenance best management practices. It's got correlated at the top of it on the title page. But it alludes to an Aegis as the company in a number of pages. In the
Yeah, I
back.
apologize.
That-
That's a typo.
Another copy
Uh,
paste.
It, Aegis is another company that was formerly associated, and, they have since, given the rights to the project to correlate, so that was just a copy and paste. We'll fix that and change everything to correlate.
So it should be correlate that will be in.
Yes,
that-
absolutely. I just saw that this afternoon, so good catch.
Mr. Chair, I have a question. Could you tell me what type of solar panel you put there?
Will, hopefully you can answer that.
Type meaning like specific make and model?
Or, you know, is it silicon or is it,
Yeah, they're primarily silicon and glass and some metals in them.
Okay.
Aluminum frame.
so I was looking on the EPA and they had two different types listed.
What types have they
They
listed?
thin film solar and silicon solar.
Yeah, silicon, not thin film.
Okay.
No, they're rigid, you know, tabletop sized panels. They're good size, yeah. They're not flexible thin film ones.
Also, could you provide us with the MSDS sheets?
Here again, yeah. Don't have them on me.
I didn't think you would, but that's it. The material safety data sheets. You find. Yeah.
There's not much flammable in them, I'll tell you that.
Hazardous.
How high off the ground will they be?
The lower edge of the module is about 3 feet off the ground, just to allow for snow to slide off of them.
The last time there was question about raising them up so they can even mow or bring in goats or whatever else.
Yeah, they're high enough off the ground that they can be mowed in between the rows.
Sir, how many panels are there?
It's about 5,000, so it's 2,500 per megawatt and we have 2 megawatts.
Gotcha. And a lot of the documentation, I'm sorry, I don't know much about this stuff and I'm new to the discussion, but a lot of the information is about safety on this. And one of the things that caught my attention was that there's not going to be a fence around this. There's going to be a vegetation fence.
No, it's an agricultural fence, so it definitely would high fence all the way around the arrays.
So that is there.
Absolutely, yep.
And let me ask you, do they make noise? I don't. No.
Yeah, the inverters are probably the noisiest part of the arrays and they sound like basically a refrigerator running, so
Very
Well, not very
Um,
much.
sort of noise. yeah.
you'd never hear it from the property line.
Thank you.
Also, one more thing on the decommissioning plan. Could we also add correlate to the Caspin? That way somebody's gonna be responsible.
Yep, so I mean, I can add that the first sentence says that Caspian is, it's not the first sentence. Second paragraph says Caspian is wholly owned LLC by Correlate. I can just add that to the cover sheet as well.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
I just have I don't know if you saw from the Conservation Commission where they asked if.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we did. That's pretty common.
Yeah.
We have several different mixes we can use for pollinator mixes and happy to incorporate that into the plans.
Very good.
Be a question for Jessica. Did we have any discussion with the town legal? From the standpoint of down the road, as I understand it, it's largely probable that you're gonna wind up flipping this to a third party, right? Is there any reason that we need to have some legal review of that in terms of ownership, understanding that there will be a future sale of the business?
I don't think so. And I actually had a suggestion in the decommissioning plan to kind of wrap that up. Is under the second paragraph, it talks about, in the event the project is sold to another entity, the decommissioning plan will be updated to reflect the new ownership. And it would be best if you add and submitted to the planning department. So then that way that will stem, when that's sold and you update the plan, our files will always be up to date. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that works for us. Absolutely. We
Yeah.
can make that change.
Sure.
I have another question. Have you, on the plans, it says it's gonna be underground, but at the last meeting, you had said it was gonna be underground where possible and then on ground, above ground? Are we gonna bury it in some way where
Yeah.
it's underground, like with a pump or?
So where it's underground, it'll go 3 feet below, below grade and, maybe shallow if we, because it's a very rocky site, but, it will, it will be buried up until it gets to the poles, then it has to come up the poles because they have the shut-offs and the meters and everything that, the electric co-op has to actually physically see the infrastructure and be able to get at it. And then it will go back down again to the inverters once it gets in the fence line and the array itself.
So would it be easier to come out of your fence, go right to a pole, down to an inverter?
Yep.
Is that what you're saying? And
Yep.
from there, go to another pole?
Nope, it goes,
go
sorry,
underground?
it goes from the pole out in the street,
Yep,
underground, up through the site
to the converter.
to there's 4 or 8 poles.
There's 4 for each.
Out,
array,
out
so
behind the barn, there's 8 poles, 4 for each array. It'll come up to those poles and then it'll go back down underground into the inverters.
Good luck.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I have
Sure.
2 other questions regarding the decommissioning plan.
Okay.
Um, so the plan references, how the facility will be dismantled at the end of life, but it doesn't talk about how it will be dismantled prior to. If for whatever reason something goes defunct or something happens, how does that take place? There's no notation on that I could see that would cover that.
Yeah, so we could just add if it's at the end of life or if it is to be decommissioned earlier
Right.
than that.
Right, if it's the same process, then.
It is the same process.
Yeah, then you just, right, which I
Or-
assumed it probably would be, but
Yeah.
just adding that language in
On
there.
decommission. Okay.
And the other thing, in section 5.0, it references it references the project company. But I'm not sure who the project company,
Yeah, so we'll change
Is-
that to correlate,
Yeah, that's-
Yep.
wholly owned. The correlate and the wholly
Yeah.
owned LLC of Caspian.
Or
Solar.
Okay.
future, and maybe a
Yeah.
future
Or
owner
future.
as well.
Yep,
yep,
No, I guess the other thing in that 5.0 section is, again, it's surety bond, letter of credit, or escrow account. But it only gets provided at the year 15, correct?
no, that would get provided as part of the approval. A bond,
That's not what it says here. It says project company will demonstrate its financial capacity 15 years after approval of the plan. So there's nothing
Right.
in the way of a surety bond prior to the 15-year timeframe.
so that's the first project, the first sentence, where it says the project company will demonstrate financial capacity through a performance bond, and then they talk about how they're gonna re-demonstrate after 15 years.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is that-
Gotcha. Yep.
Yep,
that-
okay.
that take care-
Just wanna make sure.
Yep.
And I think we covered all this safety, being it posted, the warning signs and so on and so forth around the
Yes.
property and.
Yep.
Okay.
Does this act, again, I'm a little uninformed, but does this act like a high tension wire? I mean, does this throw off a magnetic field? How? Is there danger, real danger in walking among these and touching them or?
If you touch, yeah, I mean, if you're touching electrical components, there's a risk, but that's the whole point of having the fence around it. So no one can get in that doesn't know what they're doing. So yeah, if any of the equipment goes down, people have to do maintenance on it. That's only qualified people that know what they're doing. So the general public should not be able to get in there.
Said you hadn't got approval from DES yet.
Yep, we got comments from them right around the same time we got comments from the town's engineer, so we're just wrapping those comments up and hopefully have a permit within the next few weeks.
They gave you a pretty tight timeline on that.
They always do, yeah.
Does anybody else have any questions? You have anything?
I do not have any other questions.
Did it say how much wetlands you're gonna be impacting?
Zero. We will not be impacting any wetlands at all.
Wasn't there an issue with the runoff? I thought there was an issue with runoff.
Well, I see they got a
Oh,
bunch of.
you say in the AOT comments or?
Sorry.
Yeah, you probably saw it in the AOT comments. They wanted us to keep a 25-foot buffer to the wetlands. So we're moving the panels back so they, or at least there's no disturbance in the 25-foot buffer from the wetlands.
Does that reflect on your new plans here?
No, it doesn't. It will reflect on the response to comments to AOT.
Now, I know you already responded to it with the 8-foot fence and nobody's supposed to be in there unless you're qualified. But I was just kind of reading through some of the stuff, the protections that you've got to do. If you just walked in there and touched those panels, would you be in trouble?
I've touched them before and nothing's ever happened to me.
I mean, 'cause like the gloves and all the stuff that's, I mean, there must be some high voltage someplace.
I mean, the panels themselves are not, you're not gonna get zapped if you just touch the panel, but
Yeah.
the connectors in between them, there's always that risk. Sure.
Okay.
So, yeah, no. I mean, high tension wires are 80 feet in the air or whatever they are, right? If someone can go get in there, are they gonna find these connectors and be able to touch them? I mean, a minute ago, you made it sound like there was danger.
I mean,
You know, after
potentially,
the
sure.
last question, you made it sound
It's
like
like
there
if you-
wasn't.
If you went into electrical substation and started messing around, you're gonna
Right.
get hurt. It's similar situation. And it's posted all around it that, high voltage risk,
You got
Yeah,
what
but
you
the substation is a high fence with barbed wire on the top as well, right? You're saying part of this is gonna, like, again, I'm talking a little out of ignorance, but it sounds like some of it is a vegetation fence. Is that trees or is that a real fence?
No, it's a real fence.
No,
a real
It's an
fence, yeah.
agricultural fence. It's just a different mesh than chain link. It's a little
Gotcha.
more attractive than a chain link fence.
Just painted different color, you mean?
No, it's just a
got the
different type
stuff,
of
the
wire.
fabric in between it, right?
Not in this case. No, it's just a wider weave. And it's more attractive. It's wooden posts instead of metal posts like a chain link fence. So it just kind of fits more into the agricultural setting.
How hard
the
is it to
chain.
cut it? Wire cutters?
Oh, yeah. I mean, same as a chain link fence. You could
Okay, I
cut
see.
it with wire cutters. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
If somebody wanted to get in there, they.
Oh,
could
they're gonna get
there.
in, but-
Yeah.
I mean,
Nothing in there but death.
I mean, the entrance gate will be locked, obviously, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
the people doing the construction. We gonna need a certificate of insurance or anything from them for the town?
That
Do,
would be, that would be the
what was the
home.
question? Do we need a certificate of insurance?
Yeah,
No.
for whoever's doing the construction work?
No.
That would be homeowner only.
That's Hussey's responsibility, I
Yeah.
would think.
Maybe the property owner.
Again, if they walk away and Hussey passes away, who gets left with the contractors?
That's why there's a bond put in place.
How much is the bond? Does it say?
125% of the
Total cost?
costs that are on page 5 of the decommissioning plan.
Need all these notes, it's on that page 5?
Looks like total cost $108,900, so 125% of that would be the bond.
Okay.
This is probably not the first one you've built, right? So what are the major issues that come out of these things? Are there, what are the positives, what are the negatives?
Well, the negatives, that we monitor during construction can be erosion and sedimentation of the soils while they're doing the work on it. You know, bad weather can throw a wrench in things, slow things down. Hitting rock, we know there's rock there, so, when we're digging the conduits in, hitting rock and working around that. Other than that, really no negatives. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We've built quite a few of these. Positives, you have a major capital improvement in the town that is worth a lot of money and provides renewable energy to the power grid and to New Hampshire Electric Co-op. Yeah, if for some reason the town took this over, you'd be sitting on millions of dollars of infrastructure that is worth a lot of money. It's not, even though there's a bond to cover the decommissioning of it, you'd never do that. You would find another firm to take over. This is something that's generating income, a major capital investment to put this these arrays up. So it's worth a lot of money.
Can
If
you
for
give us
some
an
reason-
idea what that CapEx would be?
Total project cost?
Yeah.
I think it's between 3 and 4 million
Okay.
to build this whole thing.
Yep.
And as far as how much revenue it generates, I don't have that number in my head, but significant.
And those are negotiated with NHEC in terms of what the rates for what you charge back into the system are?
Yeah, those rates haven't been set in New Hampshire, I don't think. At this time.
All right. Yeah, okay. Yep. All right, so, Jess brought up, we need to go over the thresholds for active and substantial development or building substantial completion of the improvements. So within the 24-month, after the date of approval, the following items must be completed in order to constitute active and substantial development and building pursuant RSA 674 (39). One, relative to the 5-year exemption of regulation ordinance changes. This is for the state. So within that 24-month,
Yep, so in the 24-month period, you want to come up with some type of threshold. that they could complete to show active and substantial development.
Okay,
And that will tie them into, they'll be exempt from changes in regulations and ordinances for 5 years. And the second threshold is they're exempt from changes in regulations and ordinances in perpetuity for the length of the project.
okay. So. I'll put it out to you guys, within the 24-month. When do you guys plan on starting this project?
Depends on when we can find someone that wants to buy it. And without knowing the utility rates in New Hampshire, it's been a little tricky, but within 24 months, yeah. As
Okay,
soon as possible, basically.
okay.
How difficult is it to find prospective buyers at this point?
That's kind of not my department. I'm more on the construction side of things, but we.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused. When you say buyer, you mean buyer of the electricity or buyer of the project?
The project
So,
itself.
so it's not Dave Hussey,
No, it's Dave's land.
his land. So he's
He's leasing us
the
the
land to
property.
whoever buys it.
But you need somebody to come in and put up the capital to do the project, basically.
Right.
And you don't have anyone identified at this time then?
We've got a few people nibbling around, but
Prospects.
nobody quite yet. And it's without municipal approval, it's a bigger, a harder sell, so. That's why we're pushing.
Chicken and the egg.
Yep.
So just you,
So,
Sorry.
so, no, that's
go
okay.
ahead.
I'm just, so really, until you guys get somebody, there's really that 24 months is,
But without the 24
Without-
months and the approval from the planning board
Right.
here,
right,
they have a harder time to identify
to-
who that third party
right.
is.
so.
Right, so if you guys don't set thresholds in 5 years, if there are changes and they haven't started, they haven't met that threshold, then they would be subjected to those changes. So you want
Okay.
to make sure that you put
So-
some threshold. So if I throw some dates out there to give you an idea of what's what,
Yeah,
so if you receive approval today, you have 12 months to complete your conditions.
That's pretty standard.
So, yeah, so from there, you have 12 months to start construction. So that will give you maybe an idea of, what types of things in that time frame within that 24 months do you think you could complete to, meet this active and substantial,
But what I saw from the
Development.
timeline was once they start construction, it was 12 months to pretty much be operational anyway, correct?
That's the hope, yeah.
so it's 12 months to complete the decision and also to start construction,
12 months to complete conditions.
and then another 12 months.
And then
So
from
that's
that point, they have 12 months,
months, okay,
yeah,
so that's
to
the
start
24, okay.
construction.
And if for some reason we were in the middle of construction at the 24-month period, we could come back to the board and request an extension.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. You could put things like, install, the stormwater management system. That could be like the first threshold,
Mhm.
something like that.
All right.
It would almost seem, Jessica, that we would want them not to start construction unless they were gonna go forward with construction. So if asking for something to start in 12 months and putting up, a tower with no arrays, with no solar panels on it or something like that, seems a little backwards.
I understand that's the gamble that they are at right now with applying for something and getting approval.
Well, no, I'm looking at it
Yeah.
from our perspective, from the town's perspective, right? I'd hate to see something start up there, have some construction be done without panels on it and then not be completed.
So if after the 24 months, nothing is started, they could always come in and ask for an extension on the thresholds as well, not just the approval.
Right, but I thought what you were asking for this discussion was what would be completed within 12 months so we could deem it as something happening.
Right, within 24.
24 months.
Yeah,
But I don't think they'll start this project until they have full funding available to
Right.
initiate.
Understood. So that, then what are we asking for, right? Why are we asking for something to start in 24 months? Why we just say the
We need
approval?
something.
We need something to.
But couldn't we just say the approval is good for a certain period of time? As
No.
opposed to forcing them to. build
no, because
something?
the state wants thresholds to put,
Wants a threshold,
to be
okay.
put down. Yeah, this is from the state.
All right, thank you.
Otherwise, they'd be subjected to changes.
Okay. What do you gentlemen suggest?
Well, we can do the stormwater, right?
If that seems feasible.
Yeah, that's the first step is the
Yep.
stormwater controls have to be put in place before we get any major earth disturbance. So that would show that they're serious and they're going. If the stormwater controls are in place and stabilized, then that's a good measure of progress.
Out of that 3 or 4 million, how much of the photovoltaic panels percentage was?
I don't know off the top of my head. They're not cheap though, I'll tell you that.
No.
All right, then you'll come up with that second threshold,
Hmm.
substantial completion of improvements. So there's that second
So,
threshold.
so prior to getting the panels in, as far as the construction of this project goes, there's stormwater drainage, and then what would be next? I mean, obviously the clearing of the land, but you start pouring footings and.
Yeah, they put in the racking system, basically, put in the
Okay.
posts first, they either get drilled in or set, and then, once those are in, then they start to assemble the racking system.
Okay.
I just think that my cursory knowledge of this whole area is the panels are gonna be the most expensive piece of this in terms of the investment. So this is all kind of chump change relative to the total investment in the project.
Hmm.
So, stormwater is good faith, as I would see it, but it's not gonna be substantive relative to the total CapEx expenditure.
So do you feel like it needs to be a higher threshold for this type of project? That's what I'm,
Well, and it's almost like a two-phase project. You do your groundwork.
Right.
And the next thing you're building your panels. So there's not, half the panels up, the posts for the panels up.
Right.
It's like a two-phase.
The panels are come complete. You just bolt them to the frame that you put them on, right?
Just need the money to buy.
But
it.
but that's the most expensive part, are the panels
Well,
themselves.
if all the groundwork is done and the project goes south, so you got good drainage, have a good day.
Now,
Well, we have a
the
question.
civil site work.
We're not
is-
public.
Not
yet.
open to the public yet.
The civil site work is probably a couple $100,000 alone, so it's not
Okay.
as
It's
expensive
not
as
insignificant.
as the modules, but yeah, it's not cheap either.
excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So
So,
the gentleman that raised his hand
Yes.
is part of their group.
oh, he is.
So he might want to come and join the table.
Do you want to?
Just figured I'd let you know.
Sure.
My name is Clark Fenner. I'm a consultant to Correlate. The way that this happens is that nothing will be done on the site until the investor that owns the property or that owns the project, that puts up the money that Will is talking about, issues what is called notice to proceed. That is when all of the money, basically all the project itself is fully de-risked from a permitting standpoint, from an interconnection standpoint, from a state, local, et cetera. So that money doesn't get released to put a shovel into the ground until all of those progress points or milestones are met. So the issue about whether you do stormwater or you put the post in the ground or whatever, none of that will be done until, first of all, there's a final buyer that's ready to go ahead and release the $3 to $4 million necessary to complete the project. It doesn't get done. I mean, yes, it does get constructed in phases, but they will not release the funding and put a shovel in the ground to begin the project to disturb the land at all until all of those milestones have been met within their own company. So I think that when we talk about milestones that the town would be looking for, and when you're subject to, say, new regulations, the notice to proceed point, at which point all that money is released, that would be when you'd want to have all of the permitting frozen at that point. And then the next point would be at what's called commissioning or commercial operation date, COD. That is when the project is completed in commissioning, the utility has approved it, the interconnection has been tested, and it's ready to be fully turned on. At that point, you would want to have it frozen in perpetuity. Okay, because you've met everything up to that point in time. Everything's been certified by the state, by the utility, et cetera. So I think those are the 2 points that NTP, notice to proceed, would be, that's the beginning, that's when they release the funding and the start of construction. So you
Yeah,
want
but that's
that,
nothing we can put our hands on, notice to proceed with the funding. I mean, that's your business. We're looking for something on our end that we can go up and see, look, touch.
oh, sure, sure.
Yeah, and
Well-
a threshold this is required from the state, where they want a threshold within, a 24-month period. of,
Okay.
To be able to freeze it to move, to move forward or get an extension or whatever you need. So,
Right.
What I understand is that the capital that's required to do this, once you go to NTP, it's all been allocated for the entire project.
That is correct.
Correct. Yeah, I think what
So-
Clark's saying is we're not gonna do anything until the project's fully funded and ready to
Right.
build.
Right, but they're not
So then-
gonna give you money
So
until.
they're not gonna start the groundwater work until they've got the full capital funding.
Correct.
Right.
Right.
Nothing will
So-
be disturbed. And the thing that's holding up the whole financing aspect of this is hopefully coming to an end here very quickly. There's 2 programs in the state that allow for the sale of the power from a project like this to the grid. One which is called group net metering, that's in place right now. The rates change every 6 months, as you see on your power bills at home. The power rate that you're paying is the same rate that the solar farm receives for the power they generate. That changing every 6 months makes it difficult to get financing at times. During COVID, when power rates were high, the solar guys were making a ton of money because the rates were high. Now rates are down. And because of that, the investors look at it and they go, are they going to stay down all this time? Or are they going to shoot back up again? Nobody knows. There's a new program, which is, it's actually active, but they're making some changes to it. It's called the Community Aggregation Program, where towns will vote to aggregate all the users in the town to buy their power instead of from, in this case, co-op, they would be buying it from the town itself. If you have an energy committee here in Alton, there's about 30 towns around the state so far that have joined as part of this program. And a group called Community Power Coalition of New Hampshire is the major aggregator within the state. They now represent about 30% of the power consumption here in the state of New Hampshire. They're second only to Eversource. So co-op has elected to participate with that program. And what they have done recently, they introduced a bill, it's called House Bill 1600, which is currently due to be voted on, actually put into, hopefully into law by the governor for before the session ends this spring. And what that will do is it allows all of the communities which have joined the community aggregation program to qualify as what they call municipal off-takers. So everybody now has the ability, if, say, for example, if Alton joined the program, they voted to join it, everybody in town would be getting the power from the coalition. the rates generally from the coalition are significantly lower than what you get from the standard utilities. And when that now happens, this House Bill 1600 will allow the coalition to act like the utility in terms of being able to contract with the solar farms or hydro dams or wind farms or whatever, to buy that and set their own terms instead of that changing rates every 6 months. They can do it, say, every 3 years. They set a flat rate. That makes these projects much easier to finance because it gives the investors financial surety, some certainty. Instead of every 6 months, maybe it changes every 3 years, maybe every 5 years. That's done under what they call a power purchase agreement. So their investors are waiting for that.
So once shovel's in ground, how long does it take from that point to completion of the project?
One of the size, maybe 6 months.
6
to
months?
8 months.
So maybe to answer our question, right, since we're only talking about 6 months, why don't we say the first threshold was what we talked about, which was the water issue, and the second one is completion of a panel. Or, yeah, not the panel, an array.
I think that will work because you're not gonna start this until they have full capital to do the entire project, so.
I probably should have made that as a motion, maybe, but.
Yeah, you don't need an
You
emotion.
don't need
It's
a
just,
motion.
so the first threshold, to be clear, is the install stormwater control measures.
Yep.
And then the second threshold would be completion, project completion.
Yeah. Yep.
Just for our edification, where does this financing typically come from? Is it private equity or is it individuals or what?
Yes and yes. It comes from, in some cases, wealthy individuals. In some cases, insurance companies. But there are several stages of the financial ownership of these projects. The first one, which is one they're looking for now, which is generally what's known as a tax equity investor. These are the people that they can be large corporations, private equity firms, banks. Goldman Sachs is big in this. They want to own it during the tax incentive period where they can take advantage of the investment tax credit and the maker's depreciation. That period lasts for 6 years, actually 5, but they, depending on where it falls during the tax year, they always stretch it out to 6. Because if they don't meet some very specific guidelines, the treasury can come back and grab that money back. So nobody likes to test that. So they wait the full 6 years, at which point then they will generally sell the project off to, and this is where insurance companies come in. They have a very low cost of capital. They're very risk averse. The project at that point has been operating for 6 years. They understand the economics of it very clearly, and they say, okay, I'll buy that. I know what the exact return is going to be. So that'll get flipped to that for the balance of the lease. So that's kind of how these things work. But at this point in time, it will be somebody that's interested in the tax incentives. I've got individual small developers that love these things. And then very big corporations. And again, banks, private equity firms.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right, I'd like to open it up to public. Anybody? Sure.
Can you come up to the table, please?
You ever seen the sign Camp David
I have, but I can't remember where I saw it.
on Route 28?
Yep. Where,
The sharp corner.
next to where the camel used to be. You remember that, no?
Unfortunately, I haven't been lived here long enough.
Does anybody know what the camel's name was?
Roger.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
How many humps do you have?
Between Sunflower Gardens and the gravel pit.
You do know where it is? Okay.
Yeah.
That help?
So where is it?
Yeah.
So it's the
Oh, both. So the yellow is his house and barn. That you can see from the road. You know, you can see this. Big driveway.
That's actually really what I wanted, is if you'd be able to see it.
Yeah,
Certainly not driving 50 miles an hour. I mean,
around that corner.
Some people, anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Stockbridge Corner Road.
Upper ways.
Well, yeah, it's still a ways away from that, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? No, okay, we'll close public. And guess all we're looking for now is a motion.
Yep, so Mr. Chair, before you guys make a motion, I just would like to go down the additional conditions
Yep.
that I wrote down throughout the discussion to make sure we're on the same page.
Okay.
So that currently there's 10 listed under conditions precedent. So number 11, I had submit the trust documentation. Number 12 was to update the company name Aegis to correlate in the operations and maintenance manual. 13 was to submit the MSDS sheets. 14, I had update the decommissioning plan to include correlate along with Caspian Alton Solar. On the throughout the document, I think that was.
Right.
The second paragraph of that plan was to add some language to also submit an amended plan to the planning department. And to update section 5.0 from the project company to correlate / Caspian / future owners. And that's all I had.
Does anybody have anything else? Okay. All right. So, that being said, so I will make a motion to approve case P 2405. With all the conditions precedent
Yep, I have some language.
and
Right over here. You could literally just read that as your motion.
Oh.
If you'd like.
okay.
Don't
Pelham
have to.
Planning Board hereby, approves the cited application to Correlate Inc. on behalf of David R. Hussey, 2007 revocable trust for final major site plan for utility scale solar energy system solar farm for an approximately 2 megawatt AC photovoltaic power station in 2 separate solar arrays within the subject parcel on map 5 lot 72-7 at 356 Suncook Valley Road, New Hampshire, Route 28 South, Alton, New Hampshire, 03809, to include the conditions as laid out in the plan review and if any were discussed in the hearing.
Yep.
How's that?
Perfect.
And that's contingent upon the AOT, right?
That's listed as a condition.
Yes.
Number 7.
So I will second the motion.
Thank you.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So I'll be in touch with the town engineer to, get that bond estimate rolling things like that, and I'll get back in touch with you. Yep.
Good luck.
Luck.
Thank you for the education.
All right. So, number 3 on the agenda, the, case P 2406. That had been withdrawn.
Yes.
So what we'll do is we'll move right on to, discussion. I'll get them settled here. So. Okay, old business, A, discussion. Expending remaining funds from the planning and zoning consultant warrant article in the amount of $1,760.
Okay. So I just wanted you guys to be aware that from that warrant article, from the second warrant, from that warrant article, we still had funds left over. And they are good until December 31st of 2026. I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
I would like to consult with Tara Bamford and see if she can take a look through the entire zoning ordinance and just maybe point out some things that that are outdated, that we just haven't updated or addressed. Or we could leave those funds, we can leave those in the fund that it's sitting in until we come up with something else specific that we want to have her help with.
May need some help come, that committee.
So yeah, I just figured I'd throw that out there and just, get your input on that.
I would move towards something specific. Something comes along. I mean, there was talk of getting into the, can't think of the name of it now, the Laconia or planning.
Lakes Region Planning Committee?
Lake,
Yeah.
Yep.
Lakes Region Planning, which is more than $1,700, I know, but, seems to me that would be more in the, something that you needed, in your realm of planning.
Some assistance with like
Because I mean, that's what this act.
zoning writing,
What's that?
with writing zoning ordinances, is that what
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
it's not, that's
Well,
not a
that's
whole
what
lot.
this act
Get it.
committee does that. I mean, they're the
You
ones that go through the,
Yeah,
and, get rid of the old, make the new, I
yeah.
think-
That's fine. I mean, the money can stay where it's at until
Yeah.
we find
Do you have
something.
something specifically in mind that needs to be revisited or?
No,
No.
nothing
Okay,
specific.
it wasn't anything.
Just a general, overview, but I'm fine with that, just sitting and waiting for a project.
I'd make a motion, we leave it until something comes up that said, wow, we had $1,700.
We need the money.
Yeah, we can do that. I don't think you really need a motion, but.
No, we
that's
just
fine.
table the money for
Yeah,
now, right?
just sits
Yeah.
and waits until
Yeah.
we need it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Everyone all right with that?
I'll second it if it'll make it better.
No need. Okay, number 2, new business. New business. Approval of the meeting minutes.
Abstain.
The guy's name
Yeah.
is Water Strat. That's missing. WATERSTRAT.
Yep.
Oh, and the other thing was 16, Hussey was not here, not present.
no, he was not. Okay.
Anything else?
Not that meeting with it. That's right. That was last month. That was activated. Yeah.
Can we get a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I make a motion that we accept the revised the minutes.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, number 3, correspondence for boards review, discussion, action. A, board to review and consider first draft of the master plan implementation committee guidelines. So.
So just so you guys know, the copy that you have, this was something that I had drafted up and then I sent it out to the members of the master plan committee to get their input on the guidelines, and Russ Wilder submitted some comments. So the comments that are in color, they're like either blue or
Yellow.
yeah, whatever color you
Yeah,
have.
blue, red, no,
I don't know
yellow.
what they ended up
red.
being. Yeah, so a couple of them are additions from me, but most of them are from Russ, so.
You need us to motion. to
So,
accept it?
so the one thing, it's, it's pretty, I don't want to say boilerplate, but, just gives the reasons why the committee's being established and what they're gonna do,
Okay.
the who, what, and why. The one thing that I want to get some input on, it's on page 3 at the top, and that's the, who would you like to sit on the committee? I've made some suggestions by kind of reviewing Zach and CIP to kind of see what
We got volunteers. for the-
members, we have a ton of
bunch of
volunteers.
Volunteers, right, for,
I think sometimes you might want to have more than 7. Because not everybody can make it every meeting.
Right,
And I think possibility of having 2 planning board members might make sense. I like the idea of having the 4 citizens. I think it's very good.
Yep.
yeah, we get,
Because you gotta get more input than just our planning point of view. And, it's important to have the selectmen and the, ZBA.
yep. It's actually the Conservation Commission.
Oh, right.
We didn't invite the ZBA for this particular committee.
I'm curious, why not? I'm curious what the rationale was not to, because one of the criteria on every case is whether or not it meets with the intent of the master plan. But on every case we see in the ZBA, I'm not arguing for or against, I'm just curious why it would be the conservation committee and not that.
I
Or
think
board
because the request in the action item that came from the update specifically pointed out the Conservation Commission.
Okay,
So that's why they were listed specifically. It doesn't mean that I didn't want to see a ZBA member. I think probably because I used some of the language from the CIP committee, and no one from the ZBA sits on CIP, so that's probably why I didn't add
okay.
the
There
ZBA.
was no real reason for why it was.
No specific reason, no.
Fair enough, thank you.
So,
Also, since it's the first year, you can always amend it after this first year, seeing if you are coming up short on some place or,
right,
Not asking or suggesting anything.
no,
actually.
I'm not implying it either. But I mean, the concept, we're one of the very few towns that have a ZAC committee to start with.
yep.
So that the idea of having an ongoing master plan, I think, is possibly the most important thing is more people will be current with the master plan than ever before.
Right. So, to go off your suggestion, Tom, we could put 2 planning board members. And then to make that committee an odd number of people, I would add another citizen member, so we'd have 5 citizen members instead of 4. Then that way you always want to have an odd number.
I'm sorry. I'm reading.
So we were gonna change it to 2 planning board members
Yep.
and then 5 citizen members.
And still have a Concom and.
Still have a Conservation Commission member and a Board of Selectmen member. Mhm.
Who leads the committee?
Who leads it?
Yeah.
Usually, well, there's a chair, but.
Yeah.
Who's the chair or how did?
That would be established at the first meeting.
Yeah, first meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, usually just a chair and a vice chair on the committees.
okay.
You know, back to Mark's comment, having served on the exact committee for quite a few years, the idea of having a CBA member is important, is that we all understand our own realms. And sometimes you need to be able to get a comment from either the selectman or from the ZBA member or somebody else that fills in information that the others don't have.
Mhm.
So there's that conceivability. I just know that there were times, I know how helpful Paul was for years. With ideas from the ZBA on exactly, so.
Yep.
So you're arguing for 1 planning board and 1 ZBA member?
Well, in a sense, I would rather see that than to leave the ZBA out.
Okay, so we'll go back to 1 planning board member and add a ZBA member.
I'm running out of ink.
Okay.
No.
Or 1 ZBA member.
I
Okay.
mean, the long and short of it was the ZBA, the ZAC committee is probably the best committee I've ever served on in town. And because you have so many different committees, it's that interrelationship that really makes things work.
It does. Yep. Okay.
I keep, also on page 3, I keep reading this sentence that's highlighted in yellow on my sheet that said, I don't know if I just have a mental block for reading the sentence, but I frankly have a hard time understanding it.
Oh, so you're talking page 3, just a
Correct.
little bit down?
There shall not be a quorum.
So that was, so I think that may have been a question from Mr. Wilder. So what this is just saying is, without properly noticing that a potential quorum of another board or committee is would be attending the master plan implementation committee, say there's 3 selectmen, or there's 4 planning board members, or there's, 3 ZBA members. That has to be noticed as the ZBA attending a master plan implementation committee meeting. That's what that is.
Can we find better language for that?
We could, yeah.
I don't know if it's just my mental block, but it doesn't read. Excuse me?
What if 4 planning board members come as individuals?
It's a little unclear too, if the first sentence, although it doesn't, I believe, if it implies that the 4 citizen members don't vote. Right, it says members of the public are welcome to participate but cannot vote. And, are the 4 citizen members of the public? I guess everybody on that list would be.
I mean, it's the same thing in a sense, if you're at some sort of town function and you're having a party, 4 planning board members can't get in the corner and talk.
Well,
You gotta be careful about that.
to eliminate Mark's point is an issue, just take out members of and just say the public are welcome to participate.
Yeah.
The members of the committee are.
Right. That confuses it with the public members of the committee or just the public. I get it. Okay.
All right. The public.
So the second sentence, so if we take out there shall not be a quorum of any other and just put a quorum, let me see. Ooh, it's getting late. Quorum.
There shall be notice. Something like that.
Right, so a quorum of any other board, committee, or commission.
Right again.
So you know this by heart over there or something? You know this by heart?
I wrote it.
Oh.
So then what's to determine proper notice? What's the qualified proper notice?
Just 72 hours,
It's 24-hour notice.
just like any meeting that we have. There'll be a forum, and we've got a notice.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's sort of unwieldy in a way, because I don't know how you would determine who shows up.
Why do you even need the sentence then? I mean, for tonight, for this document, like, wouldn't you should just take it off and, 'cause it really seems like it creates confusion. Well,
They don't want you to create.
Oh, yeah.
a meeting
yeah, in the meeting,
without notice.
another meeting in the meeting, no, I get it.
Maybe start with there should be 24-hour notice.
We just note the RSA,
Or how about
complicated.
how about a quorum of any other board, committee, or commission may not be present at any MPIC meeting without proper notice?
That would be okay. Just move the words
Well
around.
done.
Was not that difficult.
Create a brain and just.
Well,
He's cheating. You're reading it on you.
I tried to understand it this morning and I couldn't.
I thought you had memorized.
So the only other section, that I don't know if you have any additional input on, it's on page 4. It's section Z and section G, which is, committee responsibilities. I feel like between, the stuff that I came up with and the additional information from Russ, I feel like it kind of wraps things up as to what's the purpose of the committee, unless you got some more.
No, but different question though, did you state in here somehow how often it'll meet?
Is in there.
It is in there? I just got
Yes.
Twice a year.
Oh, twice a year. Perfect, thank you.
Where, I don't know.
See it. Okay. Sorry, Jessica, it took us off
That's
track a
fine.
little bit.
I'll forgive you.
Purpose of page 2. See.
Once a year, we'd have a formal meeting with the planning board saying, okay, we've done all these things, here's where we sit, on all the things that we said. There's actually an action plan that has the table that says, the planning board is supposed to do this. The building department is supposed to be doing this, conservation commission is supposed to be doing this. The planning board will decide that we want to change that stuff, or add. What it does is it keeps the master plan fresh. And we're using it, we're actually using it. So, one of the things that we would do, I guess, once we get organized for MPIC, we would come back and we would say, this is how we think it's going to run. We know what we expect to accomplish through the year, when that will happen. The whole objective is to make sure that the next one is used. And the other thing is the legal requirement. You've got three things to keep the town protected from lawsuits, and that's the master plan, zoning amendment, and the town bylaws. And if you want to change something, you need to change it within the plan, master plan, before you can actually change it.
Mhm.
Because if you're not, if you say you want to encourage X, Y, or Z, and you want to do W, you can't do W if you haven't mentioned it before. So if you're changing your ideas and you know that in a year or two, you're gonna need to get to something else, you have to propose a modification within it.
Within the master.
Within the master plan.
So it's just like a business plan, I mean, you would let a business plan sit on the shelf and not change it over five, you say in a 5-year business. You'd be looking at it yearly, and saying, yeah, we're getting where we want to be, or now things have changed, we need to.
Is that anything else or?
I don't have anything else. So this technically would get signed by the master plan implementation committee when we finally meet.
Reasons.
Yep.
And if not, who's adopting it? Is it the
It would end up being the committee.
adopting?
Yeah, because we did the same,
One of the adopting.
right. We did the same thing with CIP and Zach. It was the committees that actually adopted the guidelines with, the blessing of the planning board.
So
Yeah.
we need a motion for
Yep.
this?
It's under the aegis of the planning.
Should we have a motion with this? to
You
accept these
could, yeah, you
guidelines?
could have a
Okay.
motion to, forward them on to the
Okay.
master plan implementation committee.
Tom's voice carries pretty good. I don't know if other people's microphones are picking him up, but his and Christine's aren't on.
That was what?
Their microphones aren't
The
on.
microphone's on, on.
They're not on?
Yep.
You push the button, it turns green.
Oh, it's not green. Yep,
Yeah, that's on.
What?
okay,
That's on now.
Hello?
yep. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we advance the master plan implementation committee guidelines document beyond the planning board to the creation of that committee and for them to acknowledge it and sign it into active adopted. Thank you.
Seconded.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So next is, board to review, consider applications for, MPIC citizen members.
Impressed with the fact that we have 7 applications.
Yeah,
Would have better if there's only 4 though.
well.
Just,
Were these all for master plan? All these were?
all of these are for that one committee.
Oh, okay. All right.
So just so I can give you guys a little bit of a background on some of the people that have submitted applications. So Kelly Sullivan, and Bob Regan, were big proponents, of getting this master plan updated. Jill Hauser and Paul Manzioni, were on the committee for just a very short time. And had to leave for other, engagements. Then we have, Karen, Michael, and Maureen, are new to me. Give you a little background. And we're looking for 5.
Five of these?
Yep, we're looking for 5 out of the 7.
So it's 4.
We upped it to 5. In my opinion, I'd really like to see Paul Manzioni on the committee. We miss him on the ZBA.
He's also a lawyer, which is an
He's-
excellent thing to have
yes.
on a committee.
So
I would say
so-
the last 3, Bob, Kelly, and Paul,
Yeah,
and then just pick 2 from. the
and then
newcomers.
pick 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay,
One of the applications is for someone who says open to any committee that needs participation. So that's an option, because I mean, a lot of the different committees are always looking for extra people.
and we're gonna need people on the CIP committee, so.
Save that one.
So we could, the Aaronbergs, the same family, same address, so maybe one split with one of the two?
Yeah, I believe they are husband and wife.
Yeah,
Yep,
that's speculated that.
yep.
Are you here?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
There they are.
One of you have a preference?
What does CIP mean?
It's
Capital
capital
Improvement
improvement program.
Basically looking at town budgets.
I'm in.
That makes the vote easier.
Yeah, that
Okay.
makes that easier. Huh?
What was your name?
My name is Karen Aaron.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, but it sounds like she want to be on the CIP. We're
Yeah,
looking
yeah,
for,
so-
we're looking for MP, whatever it is.
This-
MI.
I put you down as CIP, so I will get back to you on a updated application when I get there.
Are you down any members in the Conservation Commission? You have any alternates? Oh,
Any other
So,
committees that
Kelly?
you fill?
Kelly, Bob,
Milfoil's looking for.
we have like 4 citizen members for CIP.
Do you need more or no?
I'm not sure if I have anybody returning. That's interested in returning.
Could I throw a suggestion? Or
Yes,
since we have 6, and you know, it's often difficult to get people to volunteer their time. Why don't we just take all 6? Even if we get an even number, you know, so be it. You know, the amount of times that we tend to vote split even, 4-4,
We have 7 actually.
is so rare. And I think, and part of my reasoning for that is, you know, there are a couple of people here that seem to have clear interest, so they wouldn't be here. The 3 people with experience sounds great. And Maureen, I know personally, I know she has great interest in being involved as well.
right. And so in situations like that, like if there's a tie vote, it could be the Board of Selectmen member would be the one that would break the tie. If there's a situation to where there's.
Or,
you
or
know,
why don't we do it like the US government, not let the chairman of the committee vote. And if there's a tie, the chairman breaks the vote. Kind of like they do with Congress and House of Representatives.
If you want to use that.
It's
model.
never gonna happen. It'll seldom happen.
Is that a good example?
On Friday.
We might actually get something done.
I would tend to agree with Mark's point of view. I think it's a good idea.
Yep.
Take the volunteers that we have,
Yeah,
accept them gratefully.
turn off somebody that wants to be involved.
Kind of have to agree with him.
Meaning you gotta go back.
We have to go back and change, yeah,
Okay.
right? When we have to change the,
Back change.
Amend.
amend it, right?
Well, Russell's here, he can do it. Please.
Please.
Sure.
We have,
They-
yes, we have 7 applications.
You took all 6, which I personally think
Yep,
is,
no, talking to the.
I think is personally a fantastic idea. You could have only 5 vote at the meeting, or you could designate someone as an alternate. Whoever those 5 are. I mean, you could always have 6, but only have 5 vote. I don't know if you can do that, but
Mhm.
it's just an idea. Because you guys have alternates too. Right?
That idea too.
That's a good idea.
Well, stick with the 5 and then have.
Are you
one as an alternate.
volunteering to be the alternate?
No,
I don't know how many
Problem
committees,
solved.
I don't know how many committees I want to be on.
Let's go and see.
Um,
No, she said she'd join the CIP.
CIP.
Yeah.
Go back to,
If
go
there's
back to
a,
5.
if,
No,
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm open to learning about Alton
No,
and what's
it's-
going on.
We'll
So,
learn more in the CIP about different departments.
so it's really wherever the need is. And CIP is my bailiwick. That's what I do. But whatever,
So Michael, I presume you're Michael?
Yeah.
it is, yeah.
You'd be prepared to be an alternate on the MIPC? I think it's 6.
I put her
The
here.
implementation committee. So Mike's primary area of interest, if I may speak for you, is he's prefer conservation. But if there's no need, then he can wait or whatever. That's really his area of interest.
I could still take another alternate.
Russ is ready to take him.
That's what, I mean, I don't want to speak for him, but that's his area of it.
Michael, this is a member of the Conservation Commission. You ought to talk to him.
So now we're down to 5?
And me.
So we're all set.
Okay,
Okay.
so just to recap, so we're gonna leave 5 citizen members on the guidelines.
Mhm.
We have, you have 7 applications presented to you. One of them is good for the CIP committee. So now you're down to 6.
And then I
And
come,
So
we've
we're,
already
we're
chose-
gonna accept
we've
all
already
6
chosen 3.
applications.
no. And then this guy, Michael said he would be interested in Russ's conservation.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with what we're trying to decide. We're trying to find people to fill these spots,
But
Another
we did
alternate?
fill them.
right? Yeah, Jessica?
Yeah,
We-
so. Hmm. So Michael Ehrenberg is interested in the master plan and implementation committee or not? I
Not.
guess.
He's interested in.
So you're
conservation.
not. So we're gonna
Yep.
take you off my pile.
Yes.
Now you got
Okay.
5.
Now we
Next.
got 5.
Okay, just wanted to
Still
clarify that.
Should be all
At
set.
3, we've already decided.
Let's just
Yeah.
screw it up.
So 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Left with
Okay.
2.
So then we're all, so then we're all set. We
All
have our
set.
5,
We're all set.
no
We got our
alternates.
We're
We're
good.
back to 5. So now we're.
Got a 5.
we're
How do
good.
we do that?
I,
Yep.
yeah, I would.
Yeah, so there are 5 that are gonna be on.
Yes, we are. Is she on the conservation?
No.
Yeah, no, she's in, yeah.
He said we needed.
Yeah, she's,
Late
Get
night
5.
acid.
There are 5.
There are 5 in here.
she's been pretty vocal.
Oh, Jill Hauser and.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we'll put them all in. there.
Okay.
I
Yep.
didn't say any name.
Yep. Yep.
Perfect.
Do we need a
Okay.
motion?
I would have someone make a motion and
Okay.
then just name the names so that we can just have that clear.
I'll make a motion that we accept do I have to go back to this as well? The Master Plan Implementation Committee guidelines as submitted. And for the people that are desire to be on the committee, that we accept Paul Manzione, Robert Began, Maureen Geppert. I have the 2 Ehrenbergs after that. I'm missing one.
Jill Hauser?
Kelly Sullivan
Yeah,
and Bill Hauser.
and do we get Kelly
Bill Hauser.
Sullivan?
Yep, and Kelly Sullivan.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And
Okay, so then
D,
B,
you had committee assignments.
yep, so you guys need to figure out who is gonna sit on CIP, Zach, and then this master plan implementation committee. So the CIP committee requires 1 planning board member.
I volunteered for that. Right? Didn't
I can remain there if no one.
Okay,
on the
So-
last-
all right, so
I? Roger?
Roger for CIP. And Zach needs 3 planning board members.
I thought I was already on it, right? From the zoning.
I think so. Yeah, I think you were out last year. So are you offering
Off of the what?
to sit on the committee?
I think I'm already on it.
Okay,
as from zoning,
Sean zoning?
yes,
Oh, as a ZBA representative?
I believe so.
Okay,
I had been on it.
so then we still need 3 planning board.
I'll volunteer.
Okay, so Doug,
You got 2.
and who else? Tom
Tom.
Divney? Okay, get you stepping up. Thank you, Tom. Okay, one more
For Zach or?
for Zach.
4 or 3?
We need 3. I have Doug and I have Tom Divney.
And Mark.
And Mark.
Marks is sitting on it as a ZBA member. Then
And
we
now-
would be down a member.
Now, doesn't ZBA have to nominate a member?
ZBA has 2 members.
Yeah, they already nominated me, if that's what you're asking.
I see.
We already had that discussion. And election, I guess.
Anybody?
Bueller.
Silence is deafening. Since I'm gonna be there, I'd be happy to represent both if that,
I don't think you can.
no,
No, you need 2 separate votes.
we lose a vote, perfect.
Yeah, because then we would be down a
Because
member.
We don't want you as a planning board member. We want you as a ZBA member with your knowledge there.
That's called bluff right there.
Well, no, but it's so important when working on the on this act of getting the perspective of all the committees, because you see things differently.
Yeah, you had to wait.
Great.
If you need a body, I'll be an alternate, but I'm always available if you need somebody.
Okay.
All right, Tom.
All
You're it.
That's kind of
That's it.
indirect.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, and then we'll need one planning board member for the master plan implementation committee. Sure. So Bill.
Yep. All set with that? You good?
Yep,
You
that's
good? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Okay, correspondence for boards information. Report dated February 21st. I don't know, but Coulter. Chris, how do you pronounce it, Chris?
I'm not sure.
You don't know? Okay.
I don't even want to
Alright.
attempt it.
Town engineer, Green Oak Realty, did all the slope reconstruction.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that last report is the latest and greatest, and that took place right after our last planning board meeting, and he did note that he feels like he's on track now. So doing what he's got to do to get that completed.
Oh, okay,
And so you can just read that at your leisure.
Okay. All right. All right, any other business to come before the board? Public input. Anybody? No? Okay. All right, that being said, we need a motion to adjourn.
A motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. 7, the what, 40?
Oh, that's right here? Yeah. 7:40.
Bad. Not bad. We'll tighten that up a little.
Don't forget to shut the back off.